Let's take a brief look at the longshoreman harbor workers coverage and the reason that we need it. So if we look at the history of coverages, we see railroads were the first situation where employees would exist in multiple states in the course of a day or a work week. They needed coverage beyond the state acts. They needed special coverage, which they got through the Railroad Act of 1908. In 1916, likewise, the United States wanted a specific remedy for employees that were masters or members of a vessel, and they created the Jones Act. So now if you're on navigable waters and you are a master member of the vessel, you have coverage. Okay, the problem that was highlighted in 1927 by the Jensen decision were employees that were in what the courts called a twilight zone. So in 1927, Jensen went on board a vessel to fix the boiler. Boiler exploded. Jensen was killed, leaving behind a wife or a widow and children. Now, Jensen was denied state benefits because Jensen was not in the state. Jensen was on navigable waters. Jensen was also denied benefits from the Jones Act because Jensen was not a master or member of the vessel. Jensen was a repairman came from a state. So he was in a twilight zone, someone needed to pay the estate. Social good is not going to let the claim go unpaid. And ultimately the courts directed the state to pay the benefits. But they also indicated the need to create the USLHW Act, which was done. So now there was coverage for employees that left the state, entered navigable waters, and entered that twilight zone. So the main thing to consider for the policyholder is which employees do they have that might enter that twilight zone. So bridges, obviously, a bridge itself is an extension of the state, but there's lots of situations where employees need to be on the water to build the bridge. They would be working on barges and potentially could file a claim under the richer benefits of the Longshoreman Harbor Workers Act. And so you would want to consider if that possibility exists for your insured, then they might need the Longshoreman Harbor Workers coverage on their policy. And likewise, if an employee is on a dock loading and unloading a vessel, well, he's on and off that ship constantly and leaves the state many times during the course of his employment, right? Boat repair people, same thing, just like Jensen was fixing the boat. And vessels, unless the employee becomes a member of the crew, if they're on a vessel, then obviously they may need that coverage. So if you have a floating casino and someone is bringing on board supplies for the entertainment of the customers, might have an exposure. So if you think along those lines, when are people in that twilight zone? Then you should be able to determine when that Longshoreman Harbor Workers coverage is going to be required.